Now, as most will know, we've all been waiting for the downfall of the European Union, and we actually celebrate in advance of the day coming. I, like many of you, want all European nations to be free from the protectionist racket in Brussels as soon as possible, which many people, including myself, have predicted could well happen within 10 years or so, because obviously countries could follow our footsteps and walk out the door, turning their back on the European Union. But there are many out there who also thought the EU could fall apart without our money, as they would be in dire straits, which of course we knew they would be and was saying for many years before now. And obviously we was proved right by the budget talks last year, when it became the unmitigated disaster with vetoes being thrown about left, right and centre, while payments from each nation had to go up to cover us leaving, pissing off many across Europe, including the Republic of Ireland, as I covered a few months ago. I expect over the course of time more will happen to set people in the European nations apart from Brussels, and as time goes on, the EU, in its desperation to keep its head above water, will sell its soul to the devil, which is something we've also seen recently, along with of course selling away the European people with it. Some might already know and have actually seen this story reported the other day, but the EU did a comprehensive agreement on investment with the Chinese Communist Party worth apparently 120 billion euros, which I am willing to bet no doubt somewhere gets China access to European data and services that they should not have. But this is the EU, they are as bad as China if you ask me, so not surprising at all. And that is reinforced by the fact that it also follows arrests in Hong Kong reported just the other day as this was breaking. But to top it all off, the investment pack itself has been criticised by anyone with half a brain cell, including human rights campaigners, diplomats and globalist-minded media outlets, which is something Breitbart reported the other day. During that report, they also spoke to the founder of UK-based think tank Hong Kong Watch, who described the deal as a setback for the free world, and added, just at a time when people are finally waking up to the dangers of the CCP after a year in which the world has suffered a global pandemic caused at least in part by the CCP's mendacity and repression, and at a time when increasingly experts are accusing the CCP of committing genocide against the Uyghurs, now is not the time to be doing such deals, especially without any human rights safeguards in them. The European Parliament passed a motion in December calling for access to the camps in Xinjiang, sanctions and saying that no investment treaty should be struck which didn't include China ratifying human rights conventions, especially the Convention on Forced Labour. And then the European Commission rams through this deal within days despite the European Parliament's wishes. Because as we all know and have said before, the European Parliament has no power, they are just in there to rubber stamp the Commission's directives. Why do you think people called it the undemocratic shit show that it is, and why this country wanted to get out? He finishes up with, it's a travesty, a betrayal of the EU's values, and a threat to the security of European member states. Well, a threat to the security of European member states it most certainly is. But the EU's values, that's fucking laughable. They have none except protecting their own arse. And that is obviously proven by the fact that the EU have literally ignored human rights violations because money talks and bullshit walks. This trade deal here proves it beyond any doubt. Now, of course, the EU defended their action, saying China will be good now and not enforce slavery on people and all that shit, which is pure comedy for anyone who knows anything about the Chinese regime. They won't stop doing anything that they currently do because it is ideological, the same as the BBC with its woke, anti-white, anti-British Marxist bullshit. So as you know, deeply ingrained, and that will never come out. The BBC are lost, much like the Chinese Communist Party. They are what they are. But as you heard there, globalist media outlets, including the Financial Times, even pointed out the lunacy from the EU, or should we say desperation. In the same Breitbart article it states, in an opinion piece for the globalist establishment newspaper the Financial Times, Gideon Rachman said that the European Union's claims that the deal will discipline the behaviour of the communist regimes are in fact naive. No, they are just a plain lie. The EU at the end of the day must surely know that China ain't gonna do shit they tell them to do. And he goes on, it is naive to believe that China will respect the agreement it has signed. It is naive to ignore the geopolitical implications of doing a deal with China right now. Which, yeah, there may be some geopolitical implications, but at the end of the day, we possibly got Beijing Biden in the US, so maybe the deal will be good for them on that basis. He finishes up with, and it is naive to think that the darkening political climate in Beijing will never affect life in Brussels or Berlin, Rackman wrote. Beijing's promise to work towards enforcing international conventions on labour standard are also laughably weak, he added. Which obviously they are. Anything coming out of the Chinese state is laughably weak at this point. If you really think the Chinese regime report anything factually, then I have a few hundred bridges to sell you. Now, of course, this deal itself is being pushed by Herr Merkel and Germany in general because they are balls deep in with the Chinese regime. In fact, at this point, maybe China even owns Germany. It is possible, and something China would want to do, let's be honest. Smaller EU nations, though, are running around claiming they are being steamrolled by Germany and France into deals like this, which is likely true, but all I can say to that is, you know what you have to do to stop it. Follow us out the door and send the EU into the shitter where it belongs. We can only hope that starts to happen soon in places like Ireland, Sweden, the Netherlands and Italy, to name but a few. We will just have to see how useful the EU trade deal is with China when the EU no longer exists, because I doubt this will stay its execution long. Like I said, I think countries will leave it before monetarily it goes into the shitter.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.